I'm going to be kind of monotonous in this section because every problem is done with the use of factoring techniques. As we go through these videos in this section, though, the problems will get a little more complicated as we move along, but it's factoring. And again, just one more time to remind you, if you're rusty at factoring, you need to review. Then you need to go back and study my section on factoring, in either my book or my videos or both. And so, again, among the biggest mistakes students make in this chapter is wrong factoring. And they factor wrong because they're out of practice, and they also don't check their factoring. So all that's important if you want to do well. Okay, so let's step up the complexity a little bit. Simplify x squared minus 3x minus 10 divided by x squared plus 6x plus 8. And the naive student might think that, well, the x squareds will cancel. Or maybe we can reduce 3 and 6, and we can reduce 10 and 8. And all that's absolutely wrong. It's not going to work, all right, I guarantee. The only reliable way to reduce fractions, particularly in algebra, is through factoring and canceling common factors. So I'm going to stress this a lot because people do make these mistakes I just mentioned carelessly. And when you do that, it just destroys the problem. There's just no recovery. There's nothing good can come of it. So you do need to approach these correctly and by factoring, first of all. All right, so let's look at what we got here. The numerator is x squared minus 3x minus 10. And so it has no common factor, so I know it's going to factor as a trinomial. And 10 is either 1 times 10 or 2 times 5. And with 3 in the middle, you think 2 and 5 is going to be the combination. And in fact, we need, to get negative 3, we're going to need negative 5 and plus 2, aren't we? So let's check that factoring. We have x squared minus 5x plus 2x is minus 3x, and then here's our negative 10. It's correctly factored. For the denominator, let's see what we have. It too has no common factor to factor out, no greatest common factor term. So we try to split it up into binomials. And 8 is probably going to be 2 times 4. 2 and 4. And both these are pluses, so those are likely to be pluses. Let's check that. X squared, good. Plus 4x plus 2x, that makes 6x. And then here's plus 8. All right, so throughout these videos, I'm not going to check every one of them like this. But you know what? I am checking them in my head when I do them. And I've been factoring for probably close to 40 years. And I still check everything I factor, mentally at least. In most cases I can do it mentally because I've done so much of it, but regardless of how you check yourself, you should. If I have to check myself to catch my errors, then I expect you probably ought to be doing the same. Alright, so that's what I have to say about factoring, and we'll go from there. Now then, what reduces here? I have common factors. So I call them common factors, not common terms. You see up here, x squareds are common terms. 2 is a common factor of these terms, but it's not a common factor of the numerator nor the denominator. In other words, you can't factor I'm sorry, I meant 3. You can't factor a 3 out of everything in either place. But here we have factored. And so x plus 2 and x plus 2 are factors common to the fraction, so we call those common factors. And they divide because one piece divides into the other. And so we're left with x minus 5 over x plus 4. And neither one can be factored anymore. Numerator and denominator cannot be factored any further. And they're not the same, so we are done with this problem.